Before we do any Q&A, I think I'd like to hear from one or two people a kind of sharing that in certain kinds of groups that I lead, we call coattailing. It's a Gestalt therapy term. Some of you may know the term coattailing. It means, where did Sally's work bring you to in your own self? So it's a connecting kind of sharing, not getting her back into her work. It's not even an appreciation of her. It's a sharing of, where were you when you were witnessing that? So if there's somebody willing to share their coattailing, I'd like to complete with that.
Thank you. I could see that her fear of abandonment was the same as mine, and that the pains I've been feeling recently were exactly in the same arena, that ultimately based on fear of abandonment.
Thank you.
It's kind of that old truth thing, period, exclamation point. How do you get the skills and ask the questions and expect truth back if the other person is not honest? Which brings up, you know, yours was January 3rd, mine was last Thursday. So,
yeah. So you're hurting too, from a recent loss.
From becoming deeply involved with a man who used to be a friend.
Yeah.
And Thursday night finding out that I've now been exposed to STDs from another woman he was sleeping with. So, you know, truth,
a lot of hurt there.
Over years and years of truth, but that person wasn't being honest.
Yeah, and you can focus on the other person's irresponsibility, in quotes, or you can focus on your own pain, and I know you're doing both.
Yeah.
And I honor you for that. Thank you.
A little help from my friends.
Yeah, it's very hard to stay with your own pain. And the exercise I was going to do, folks, just so you know what you missed, was just doing that same thing with a partner. But we would have gone way over time trying to do that. And I think you got the idea. So just one more sharing.
I've kind of had an epiphany. I've made a connection through her and through what you've said today. I had a really profoundly traumatic childhood with a very destructive, self-destructive mother, and who eventually ended up committing suicide when I was a kid. But it's thrown me into a lifelong pattern of living in kind of a la-la land in relationships where I don't give what the woman needs, and I live in kind of a denial state until there's an emotional moment, and then up comes the anger and the defensiveness, and don't control me, and don't be like my mother was, and all this kind of stuff. And since I've been here, I came here with a woman. I rendezvoused with a lady friend from England. She is going through her own crap, and she's in her 50s now, and she's going through this thing of, she's been a single mother for 20-some years, and she's tired and exhausted, and she's never had a long relationship that's gone more than a couple of years. And I spent my whole childhood trying to save my mother, which is a hell of a burden for a child. My whole childhood was spent trying to save my mother's life, and ultimately she took her life, and it's a huge failure thing, okay?
Yeah.
And this woman I'm with just told me the other day that even though she's still trying to finish raising her last of her children, who's a teenager now, that she said just this moment of truth came out of her the other day, and she told me here at the conference, she said that she feels like sometimes she just wants to die, she wants to give up. And now that has really blown me away, because I feel like, oh my God, now I have to save her. I can't, you know, I mean, she came in, I brought her into my life prematurely. Right after my marriage failed, my 20-year marriage failed, I brought this woman.
Can I interrupt you now?
Yes.
Just, are you okay? Are you really okay with my interrupting you, or are you needing something more?
Well, I just kind of wanted to finish the connection.
I'll let you finish.
Okay.
Go ahead. You said
I prematurely brought this woman into my life after my 20 years marriage failed, which was very destructive in the last few years, okay, affairs and all kinds of crap that went on. And desperately, you know, drowning man grabbing for that straw, I brought this woman into my life, which I shouldn't have done, but I did. and because I needed some comfort, I needed somebody. And she's been in my life now for 2.5 years, and now she's telling me that sometimes she feels she wants to die, doesn't know she can go on. And I have been entertaining for the last few months that maybe I should finish my growth and my process and doing what I need to do, because I'm turned inside out, upside down. I'm pretty, I got a lot of work to do on myself. And I've been feeling like maybe I should let her go. And now she tells me
Well,
this.
let me interrupt
and now I
'cause
feel
we
like
hear that.
I got to stay in the
Yeah.
relationship to save her life.
Right. Okay. So your work right now is to feel what you felt when she said she's thinking she may not want to live anymore.
That's my mom all over again.
It's exactly. And I know you're kind of going there. So I want you to open. I mean, in this moment and at this conference, and with her if you can, or with somebody else, or with me afterwards, open up to that. Oh my God, somebody's depending on me for their life. I'm going to fail them, and all the other feelings, of helplessness and fear that are in there. The little boy who's saying, "I'm just a little kid. Oh, I don't know what to do here." All of that helplessness that's in you. See, you've developed helpfulness, but underneath is a lot of helplessness, and I want you to just open to that, because you've had this triggering event in your adult life, and forget for now what you're supposed to do with her exactly, whether it's supposed to end or what. Just, for a few days, feel. See, the control pattern that most of us do is, well, then I've got to do something. This is a traumatic thing that's being re-stimulated. I don't belong here. I got to get out of here. I'm not saying you should stay with her, but I'm saying watch out for that most common of all control patterns, that when you feel something, you got to do something to go elsewhere from what you're feeling. If you stay with that feeling, that will guide you. But it's a long learning process.
After she told me this, I stood in the middle of the plaza out here the other day, and I just wanted to run. I didn't know where I was going to go.
Of course.
I have kids at home that depend upon me. I'm a single dad.
Of course.
And
So remember,
I just wanted to run from everybody.
So remember the little
guy.
guy who wanted to run, who's 5 years old and wanted to run. Remember him. He's the guy that you need to get to know. This woman's come into your life for a purpose. I don't know if she's a life mate or anything like that. I'm not trying to suggest that. But if there's something stirred by you, then it's your time to deal with this even more than you've already dealt with it. And I trust that you have dealt with it a lot. I hear that. But I want to say this, there's always seems to be more down there. And I honor you for taking the next step in your growth.
Sometimes you feel stupid because you feel like you can't get past it.
I've been here so many times, right? I'm still attracting this, and I'm in my 50s or whatever. Yeah, this is all the stuff that the mind does that keeps you away from doing the real healing. Every single one of us has self-critical thoughts at times. But the thing I want you to do is, when you notice those self-critical thoughts, notice how you feel about having. Feel, feel, feel. It will transform your life. It's the fear. Remember how I started? It's the fear of pain that interrupts our ability to really open to our true loving nature. That's the fear of pain. That's what we're all here to heal. That's why all this button-pushing stuff is happening to us, especially now with more awareness at this stage in evolution, because we are really being called to save the earth and to love one another. We are truly being called to do that. And we can't do this work if we're not real with ourselves. And that means just feeling all this unpleasant stuff and going, hey, I love you too, and I love you too, and I love you, little boy that wants to run away. So there are deep benefits of this work. As I said, it's not for everybody, but I kind of think it's for everybody in this room. I just kind of get that vibe. But it isn't for everybody out there. And it's not for everybody that you're going to fall in love with. And you do need willing practice partners if you're going to take this journey. So I want you to think about who could be your practice partners. It could be a best friend. But begin to think about, okay, I want to take on this path of conscious communication as a healing practice. I call it a yoga of communication. And it's truly a curriculum for being present. You know, that's, again, a very sexy word, presence. Everybody wants to be present. Well, how do you get present? Start with right where you are. And if you find a partner to do this work with you, get one of my books, because you do need some tools. The games are a good kind of icebreaker, but they won't do the job. You really have to work with the material in the books. And they're in the bookstore in the left corner, and my website is susancampbell.com, because they're probably going to be out of books. I didn't bring too many. And I'll have a book signing right now up at the outside of the bookstore table there. So I think I'll complete with that. And I just hope you can feel the benefits that this can have for your life. And thanks for your great attention.